Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, welcome once again to yet another episode on Life Signatures Radio. You found us in a deep series. In this series, we are talking about injecting meaning into our lives. And let me just give you some heads up. We have already looked at two ways in which to inject meaning in our lives, and I'm going to mention those to you. But the second type of injection of meaning into our lives is a bit long, and I've taken about 4 or so episodes on it, and I'm still going strong even with this. And even as we're discussing this, we're looking at how we can change our lives from the inside out. And therefore, even as we continue doing life, we are doing it because there is meaning, because we love to do what we're doing, because we're doing what we were born to do in the first place. We're doing it and we're finding the joy of God inside of it, and we are transforming this world. If you needed to know how to inject meaning into your life, this is an episode that is going to help you, plus the previous episodes, because we're doing it in a series. So stay tuned even as we go deeper into this.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
For us to do this, we need to do a recap, and let me just tell you the two ways in which you can inject meaning into your life, the two ways that we've dealt with so far. The first is by a rebirth, going through a rebirth. That means finding your meaning, finding your purpose, going on a quest, and changing, just having a pivotal moment in your life where you change the direction that you're taking because you've discovered what your meaning in life is. You've discovered what your purpose in life is, and you're using it as the most grounded way of doing your life going forward. That's number one. Number two, you're going to inject meaning into your life through being responsible. And when I talked about that, I started enumerating several ways in which you can find responsibility. And as you find this responsibility in these different areas, each area injects some level of meaning in your life. You can do all of these areas, or you can do some of them, but each one of them, they inject meaning into your life. The first area of being responsible is about yourself. Take care of yourself. Grow yourself up. Nurture yourself up. Take care of your body. Take care of your spirit. Take care of your mind. Take care of your emotions. Take care of your spirit. Take care of all yourself in totality. Balance your life. As you do that, signals are sent into your mind and into your brain and into your body, into your psyche that you are needed. There is meaning in your life. Secondly, you take care of your environment, your immediate environment. Be responsible for your immediate environment. The person who doesn't have a job to do, this is what I've been referring to the most. The person who has not been employed, doesn't have a job, and they're not taking care of the environment. What is going on in their mind and in their psyche is that they are not needed, they are useless, they are meaningless, and therefore they don't find meaning in their lives. When you rise up and take care of your environment than just to binge watch stuff on the phone or reels and stuff like that, you are sending signals that you are a person of meaning and there is something that matters to you. That's the second thing that you can be able to do. The third thing we discussed, that you should be able to take care of your relationships. I gave you an example of being in a relationship, a new relationship where you are loved, you love and you're reciprocating one with another. You look forward to having conversation with each other. You respect one another. You are head over heels in love with each other. It is so difficult for such kind of a person to find meaninglessness in life because you are in a relationship. Therefore, to be responsible over relationships is to make sure that you're the one who wants to nurture them, to grow them, to make them mature. And therefore you look forward to those relationships and you inject some level of meaning into your life through that. Yesterday we discussed this. We say that another level of injecting meaning in your life is through being responsible in your profession. And I explained that in depth yesterday. Episode number 1277. We explained that in depth, that there are some things that you need to do in terms of your profession. That your profession should not just be something that you're using to get money at the end of the month so that you can be able to pay bills. Your profession needs to have meaning. If it doesn't have meaning, I explained that you need to start looking for avenues where you can find meaning within the organization that you're working. If there is no meaning in there, guess what? You need to look outside of that organization. But by all means, don't be enslaved by a job just because it's giving you money at the end of the day. It is worse when you are hating the job that you're doing and you go there every single working day. It is corroding your psyche, corroding the meaning of your life, making you to feel disillusioned and dissatisfied and disengaged and distressed and have a disquiet going on in your mind and in your life and in your psyche and in your spirit. So find a job that you can have responsibility over. And I explained that. Today, let us look at two ways in which you can be responsible. In fact, let's just look at one way. Okay, two ways in which you can be responsible even as we close this small mini-series. You can be responsible over projects. For those who do not have jobs, there will be ideas that will be coming on your way daily. And these ideas, if you lean into them, they can easily become a project. Projects, let me explain this to you so that you can understand. If you're in the startup world, you know sometimes that the projects we do in the startup world, they don't necessarily pay at the end of the month. They don't pay probably at the end of the first year, the second year, and so on. A case in point is my podcast. Maybe this is not necessarily a startup. Given that I'm in the world, in this area of the world where the podcasts are not necessarily appreciated. In fact, if I look at my statistics, for the most part, the highest listeners to my podcast are Americans. I don't market to them. I don't sell this podcast to them. I don't make them aware of it, but they find it. As compared to people in East Africa where I live and work. This is a project to me. It matters to me. It doesn't pay me. But I will not be the same human being without this podcast. I tried to let it go a few months back. I couldn't. And I had a lot of backlog and I'm just closing in on those backlogs. I couldn't. But it is a project. This project, as I am doing it, is better than when I am not, because it's injecting some level of meaning. It means something to me. It matters to me. It matters to me, and therefore when I wake up I want to do it. People will look at me and they wonder, that thing is not paying you. In fact, you're the one who is paying $20 every month to have that podcast hosted. Why would you do that to yourself? It matters to me. There is meaning inside of it. Let me explain this to you so that you can understand. Projects don't necessarily have to pay you as long as they have meaning in it. And I know when I talk like this to a business person, I'm talking like this from a psychological angle, a philosophical angle, not a business angle when I talk about projects. Because people will start talking about viability of projects. They'll start talking about, does it bring in money? I am talking from the psychological and from psychological angle and from a philosophical angle. When I talk about this, I mean that if something means something to you, it matters to you, do it as a project, because it's going to inject some level of meaning in your life as compared to, guess what, doing nothing. So if you learn to take responsibility over the ideas that come to you, the ideas that matter to you, sooner or later your life will start having meaning injected into it. And invariably, some of these things, they start becoming viable. You start finding ways and means in which to pivot and go in a direction that is able to bring food on the table, is able to pay you back. So you find yourself engaged in a project that you love, and at the same time you find yourself engaged in a project that is also taking care of your financial needs. But at some point in time, it mattered to you. The SI unit, or the reason as to why you're doing it, is because it mattered to you. It doesn't have to give you money. It doesn't have to pay you money at the end of the day. But it matters to you. I'd rather, from a purely philosophical point of view, I'd rather you do this than sit at home doing nothing. So number 5, projects. You can be responsible over projects. You can find projects in your communities, and that's the one where I'm going with number 6. Number 6, courses. CAUSES. Courses. You can be responsible over courses. We all are passionate about one thing or another, especially something that is non-profit, that is making a difference in our communities where we are, where we live, where we stay, something that is greater than ourselves. That is perhaps the most straightforward way of injecting meaning into your life. Just be responsible over the elderly, for example. I'm just using that as an example. The elderly in the community, rallying the community around cleanliness, rallying the community around security, rallying the community around one thing or another. Before you know it, you are the go-to person in the community for that, and you become someone who has meaning. You wake up in the morning because you're a go-to person. You find meaning in the things that you do. Take responsibility for what we are passionate about. Take responsibility for what you care about in the community that is not going to pay for you. It could be children. It could be women. It could be the disabled. It could be the drainage system. It could be the lighting system and the security of the whatever. It could be the environment. It could be labor. It could be education. There are very many courses that you can volunteer yourself to, even as you do your life. And as you do this, it is one of the biggest ways of injecting meaning into your life. And by the way, you might be employed, you might not be employed. Those of you who are especially in jobs that pay you well, but there is no meaning in them, guess what? Use the money that you're being paid well to do a course. A CAUSE. In fact, corporate organizations, they have something they call corporate social responsibility. That is one way that they inject meaning into their lives, and also corporate governance. They inject meaning in their lives that way. So find a way. The good thing about courses is that you do not need a degree to push them. You don't need some high qualifications. You just need a heart that is hell-bent on standing up to make a change. That's it. And therefore, you inject meaning in your life by so doing. So, if you saw that your life lacked meaning so far, we've discussed 2 things. We've talked about a rebirth and responsibility. But if these 2 don't make sense to you in any way and you still have no meaning in your life, tomorrow we're going to discuss the 3rd way in which you can inject meaning into that particular life. But until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.